The story begins in the eastern suburbs, within the Forest of Giants. A system notification indicates the recommended level for this area is from level 10 to level 35, with a difficulty rating of 3 stars. Heavy rainfall has fostered the growth of colossal trees, and timber along with enormous fruits serve as the primary source of income for local residents. However, deep within the forest, mysterious activities unfold. Amidst these towering trees, a massive, wounded monster, missing one arm but wielding a huge weapon with the other, bellows, "How dare you challenge me?" A young swordsman, Lu Ren, stands before the giant and responds calmly, "Why should I fear you? Attack me if you dare." Although exhausted, Lu Ren is prepared to stake everything on this encounter. The system announces a battle between Lu Ren and the elite boss, the one-armed Ammon. The monster swings his mighty weapon, proclaiming Lu Ren's imminent death. Recognizing the signature move, Lu Ren draws his katana, fully aware of the devastating force about to be unleashed. Ammon strikes the ground with immense power, but Lu Ren dodges using his fast movement skill, increasing his speed by 30% for 5 seconds. With incredible agility, he leaps and delivers a powerful strike to Ammon's neck, using his sword cleave skill. The system notifies that Lu Ren has defeated the elite boss, Ammon. As a reward, Lu Ren receives a level 15 boss, sword meant for swordsman. It boosts his strength by 100 points, attack by 80 points, critical hit by 12 points, and reduces her level requirements by 5. He marvels at his fortune, realizing the weapon will ensure his dominance in ranking and combat power. Suddenly, a small elf assistant appears, congratulating him on his acquisition. She informs him of a time-limited task and points to the system window, which reveals the task's objective: defeat the elite boss, the Bloody Traveler, within 30 minutes to obtain rare weapons and valuable combat experience. Lu Ren, eager to test his new sword, sets off toward the target. The map shows many players moving toward the boss, but Lu Ren is determined to reach him first. As he advances through the dense forest, a massive explosion of energy rocks the area, startling birds from the treetops. Lu Ren races toward the source, speculating that it might be a powerful weapon, potentially worth thousands if sold. When he reaches the clearing, he's stunned by the sight. The ground is littered with a multitude of weapons. Amidst his awe, a sinister laugh echoes from behind him. A skeleton warrior, hidden in the shadows, swiftly strikes Lu Ren in the neck, killing him instantly. His weapon drops from his inventory, leaving Lu Ren furious. The skeleton ignores him and continues its rampage, with the system notifying that the task of the Bloody Traveler is still in progress. A large crowd of players rushes through the forest toward the clearing, hoping to defeat the boss and claim the scattered weapons. The skeleton warrior, armed with 2 bright red blades, slays several warriors effortlessly. A powerful fighter charges in, attempting to defeat the skeleton with blue, energy-infused gloves, but the skeleton dodges and defeats him with a single blow. The remaining players realize the gravity of the situation and rally together, forming a plan to take down the boss. Archers and mages attack from afar, while shield bearers and swordsmen engage the skeleton directly. Despite their efforts, the skeleton's speed and skill prove overwhelming. It tears through the group, breaking their weapons and scattering them in terror. As the skeleton slaughters his foes with relentless precision, the system reveals he has defeated his 404th enemy. Standing among the corpses, the skeleton remarks coldly, "Still too few," before vanishing into the shadows. The battle for the Forest of Giants is far from over. Luli stood in front of the man sitting in his office, listening as he expressed his disappointment. The man, speaking with authority, told Luli that with his abilities, he could have easily become a shareholder in Destiny, their company. His future was limitless. Yet he had chosen to pursue the investigation into the disappearance, damaging the company's reputation and interests. His voice rose as he informed Luli that the board had voted, and he was now fired. Did he have anything to say? Luli, his expression calm, replied that he had nothing more to add. In the system window, his name was listed. Luli, 26 years old, 183 centimeters tall, the former director of game R&D at Destiny, lead analyst, and master of science in computer science. With nothing left to discuss, he left the office, resigning himself to the reality. He told himself there was nothing he could do but quit. As Luli walked away, the man sighed, lamenting the waste of such talent. He called out to his secretary, Wang, asking her to find a replacement. If she couldn't, they'd have to add 20 million to L's salary to fill the gap. He called her name several times, but she didn't respond. Frustrated, he asked aloud who he was even talking to. Wang, standing tiredly nearby, thought about how she had chosen this job just to see Luli every day. Now that he was leaving, it would be time for her to retire. She wondered what the old man really wanted from her as he continued to speak loudly. Outside, Luli held a photograph in his hand, silently contemplating it. In his mind, he told his older brother that he finally had a clue about his disappearance. As he crossed a bridge towards the city, he promised himself that he would find the truth. Later, Luli stopped, confused, looking out at the city and wondering where he even lived. It had been 2 years since he had been home, consumed by work, and his topographical ketones made it hard to distinguish directions. He sighed, lost in thought. Sometime later, Luli witnessed a girl angrily breaking up with a guy, yelling that she was done with him. She accused him of having 68 contacts on WeChat, all labeled treasure, despite calling her his only treasure. The guy chased after her, insisting he could explain. She didn't listen and stormed off, declaring that they were over. As they ran past Luli, wiping his tears, he was startled to see him. "Brother!" he exclaimed, embarrassed. Luli, slightly amused, said he had come at the wrong time. Dismissed it, telling him he always had time for him. Before Luli could ask about the fight, they brushed it off, calling it nonsense and predicting everything would return to normal in 2 days. He invited Luli inside, offering him a drink. As Luli sat down, he noticed the girl's underwear on the sofa and advised A to be more mindful of his personal life. A flustered agreed. He asked Luli to stay with him for a couple more days. Luli considered it and said maybe he would. Overjoyed, he suggested they go for a barbecue or a massage. However, Luli interrupted, stating he had found a clue regarding their elder brother's disappearance. A's face grew serious, and he revealed that the equipment for Destiny's new game, False Moon, was ready. The game would officially launch at midnight. Luli nodded, convinced that the disappearance was linked to the game, and knew he needed to act. Later that night, the alarm clock rang. Luli, dressed in a new suit, sat across from A. Both held helmets in their hands, and after a nod, they put them on. The system greeted Luli, confirming his identity and asking if he was ready to enter the game. He agreed, and the system welcomed him to the world of False Moon. An elf assistant appeared, introducing herself as SS and informing him that the game would begin soon. As the game loaded, Luli admired the seamless integration of neural connections and the realistic atmosphere. He entered Newcomer's Village in Modland, surrounded by other players. A system window informed him that he was at level 1, with no class and his attributes displayed. A, accompanied by a girl named Amy, waved energetically at Luli, inviting him to join their mission. Luli declined, stating they had different paths to follow. Confused, he asked what he meant, but Luli was already walking away. He called out to SS, who appeared instantly by his side. Luli asked her to open the special redemption code. The system window appeared, and Luli entered a long password he had once created. The system confirmed the password was correct, and he successfully accessed his unread messages. Luli knew that the answers he sought were waiting for him, and this game would bring him closer to the truth behind his brother's disappearance. The elf asked the owner, "What kind of system alerts are these?" "She can't identify it." Luli, with a calm expression, looks at the system window and says it's a third-party program he created. The elf, surprised, warns him, "If it's a third-party program, you must stop using the plugins or your account will be blocked forever." Luli dismisses the concern, stating that the program is hidden within the base code, and finding it manually would take at least 6 months. The system window reveals an item, the Bracelet of Omniscience, level 10, universal. which increases strength, intelligence, agility, endurance, resistance, and charm by 5 points. The bracelet levels up with the hero, improving every 10 levels with a chance to gain a random professional skill. Luli tells SS to help him hide the bracelet, as it's too conspicuous, and he prefers discretion. The elf admires the beauty of the bracelet, but agrees to conceal it. Luli opens the next system notification, Book of Random Achievements. The book generates an achievement task every 10th level, with random rewards for completion. A hidden attribute is unknown. Luli glances at the book and remarks that he only entered instructions for the powerful props, while the rest are randomly generated by artificial intelligence. The elf finds the prop interesting. The next system notification reveals an invitation letter from Shura, which Luli considers the most important item. After 2 years of playing Destiny, he finally obtained it. Luli remembers his brother receiving the same letter during beta testing, believing it holds the key to his brother's disappearance. He opens the scroll, reading its cryptic message, "Without fear, follow your heart and find yourself. Those against you will be killed, and no one can stop you." The system notifies him that accepting the letter will change his profession to Aura and launch a new storyline. Luli accepts the offer, his expression serious. Suddenly, an intense pain strikes his chest, and Luli grabs at it, only to be transported to an unknown space. Surrounded by skeletons in black robes, they stab him with bright red daggers, leaving him bewildered and in pain. He begins to lose consciousness, wondering what's happening. The system notifies that his character is dead, with an error. Characters in this area cannot be attacked. A restart fails, leaving Luli trapped in a space filled with system windows. Confused, Luli tries to exit the game, but the system alerts him that quitting is impossible due to an error. The source code is undiscovered. Panicked, Luli questions how this could happen and demands the system respond. He finds himself underground, pulling out of the earth as a skeleton. A system window confirms he is now level 1, without a class. Luli, now a broken skeleton warrior, wonders how he became a skeleton and what place he's in. A nearby monster with a staff summons a servant, and Luli, amused, thinks the summoning was successful. The system reveals the epic boss Zhan, a level 30 summoned of the undead, with abilities such as hellish chains, corroding fire, and summoning the undead. Luli, realizing Zhan is an NPC, tries to talk to him. Zhan, surprised by Luli's speech, suspects he has summoned a rare-level skeleton. Luli, noting the lack of response, decides to search elsewhere for answers. Angry, Zhan wonders why Luli didn't kneel and immediately casts infernal chains, summoning chains that bind Luli. Confused, Luli asks, "What are you doing?" Zhan laughs and replies, "Teaching you to be an obedient dog." Chained, Luli remarks that he's only level 1 with no skills, questioning the logic of the plot. Suddenly, a massive explosion destroys Zhan and the chains, throwing Luli into a tombstone. Dazed, Luli sees a massive monster in front of him, the Great Sorrow, and exclaims, "This thing is huge. Did I mess up the map?" An elf appears, informing Luli that he's in the lands of pitch darkness, home to high-level bosses in False Moon, the most dangerous area. She also reveals that Luli has acquired a new outfit. When Luli asks if completing the task is possible, the elf confirms and suggests a point 100 kilometers away for completion. Embarrassed, Luli crawls along a mountain filled with dragons, asking for a normal path. The elf informs him that the shortest route is 400 kilometers long. As Luli struggles to escape from monsters, he asks for background music to lighten the mood. The elf informs Luli that user A has reached level 5 after washing 20 wild boars. Luli congratulates him, but it questions Luli's low level and accuses him of secretly cultivating. Luli, still at level 1, refuses to answer, saying he's tired of fighting monsters. A, dissatisfied, leaves to attend to other matters. Luli, pursued by a monster, runs while feeling unwell. The elf alerts him that they've reached their destination, an abandoned city. Luli, seeing a crowd at the gate, asks if he needs to wait in line. The elf estimates it will take about 2 hours. Spotting an empty entrance, Luli rushes toward it, determined to enter the city, despite the elf's protests. At the entrance, Luli encounters 2 large monsters guarding a mysterious place. Surprisingly, they let him in without resistance, laughing as they do. Luli thanks them, asking if they'll watch him die, which they humorously agree to. Finally, Luli is informed that his registration time for the fun platform has expired. A monster guard warns him that winning in fun brings wealth, but losing leads to mortal torture. As Luli walks through a corridor, another monster reveals his level 1 status, further questioning if Luli is truly ready for what's ahead. Luli walks along a long corridor, thinking he has finally reached the right place. As he reaches the end, someone exclaims in surprise, pointing at him and saying that the last member has arrived. A monster in a suit comments on Luli's low level, mocking him for being only level 1. The other creatures in the room laugh, asking if he's fearless or foolish. They wonder if he came for a fight or a show, boasting that they could crush him with a finger. The monsters in the arena smile at him, and one wearing glasses remarks that this is just canon. Despite the mockery, he hopes something interesting will happen and asks for silence as they prepare for the upcoming battle. The audience erupts in loud cheers as the monster with the microphone announces the start of the battle. He introduces Quick Rabbit as the commentator for the event. Quick repeats the rules for newcomers, explaining the competition is duel mode. The one who reaches the end wins. To ensure fairness, everyone's level is adjusted to match the lowest participant's level, not below level 10. He mentions that skills and equipment can be used, and the platform will provide the necessary adjustments. If an opponent doesn't admit defeat, killing them is also a valid win condition. The winner will receive 5,000 experience points and an epic weapon. Quick announces the level adjustment, mentioning that it has dropped to the lowest in history. The monsters, now at level 10, complain that their powerful skills are gone, leaving only 2 basic abilities. One monster threatens to break all of Luli's bones if they cross paths, confident that combat experience will make up for any level equalization. Luli, having been raised to level 10, regrets his earlier decisions. The system notifies him to choose a class, and after pondering, Luli opts for the killer class. His attributes appear: Strength and Agility 60, Intelligence 45, Endurance 30, Resistance 10, Charm 8. He is a broken skeleton warrior. Quick asks if the contestants are adapting to their new levels, warning them that time waits for no one. Weapons are distributed, and Luli receives sharp daggers. He inspects them, thinking they look good. If he can't win, he'll simply admit defeat and move on. Quick then introduces the highlight of the competition, the special guests, starting with Master Zhan Yue from the Blood Moon Hall. Zhan Yue's followers cheer, hoping to be noticed by the master. On the opposite side sits Master Wu, renowned for her mental strength and harsh training conditions. Despite her beauty, Wu's reputation for ruthlessness precedes her, and the crowd murmurs about her deadly temper. Luli hears the name Hamia and realizes it's his brother's name, believing Wu may know something about him. As Wu catches him staring, she wonders if Luli has a death wish. Quick loudly announces the start of the battle. He introduces the first fighter, Bloodclaw, a fearsome wild lion from the Bloodlive clan, known for his overwhelming power. Next is Bei, a zombie swordsman from the Great Sword Society, famous for his fast, merciless sword techniques. The third contender is Ji, a devil with 2 blades from the wilderness. Quick turns his attention to Luli, who surprises everyone by defeating his opponent. The crowd is stunned. Did anyone see how he won? Quick calls him cannon fodder, but it seems the next round will be even more exciting. The system shows the next fight: cannon fodder versus Ji. Ji stands before Luli, urging him to surrender, saying he won't kill a weakling like him. Luli remains calm, not responding. As the tension builds, a fireball spell hits a large monster nearby, drawing attention. A smug fighter, Amy, and a girl next to him remark on how easily they destroyed all the goblins in the area. Amy proudly boasts that his brother is even stronger, and he hints that when they meet him, they'll understand just how strong he truly is. Ji stands still, watching Loi silently walk toward him. Quick glances at them and remarks that their cannon fodder seems cold-blooded. Ji, unfazed, points his sword at Loi. He believes Loi missed his only chance to survive. Confident, Ji swings his sword and releases his energy, declaring Loi's death will be painless. Ji quickly strikes, and Quick, surprised, exclaims that Ji's technique is so fast it's impossible to follow. Even more surprising, Loi dodges the blow. Zhan, watching, claims it was just luck. Ji tries again, striking hard with his energy, but Loi dodges once more. Quick is stunned, shouting that Loi managed to evade again. Ji, frustrated, swings harder, telling Loi to stop dodging. He releases more energy, but Loi jumps and avoids the strike again. Quick is bewildered, wondering how Loi keeps evading the attacks. Meanwhile, Loi calculates his enemy's reach. 80 centimeters arm length, 100 centimeters sword blade, and 20 centimeters handle, making the total strike length 200 centimeters. As long as he keeps a safe distance beyond that, he's fine. Loi knows he must stay alert for throwing weapons or ranged attacks. With a half-second swing speed and acceleration up to 160 kilometers per hour, Loi's reactions allow him to dodge. Now it's time for Loi's move, a critical strike that could win him the battle. The crowd jeers at Zhan, taunting him for struggling against a first-level opponent. Furious, Zhan leaps high, preparing for an instant powerful strike. Loi calmly calculates. Move 80 centimeters to the left, bend 60 centimeters, and activate his critical strike. He dodges perfectly and counters with his daggers, landing a devastating blow. Ji, shocked, falls to the ground, bleeding, wondering how he could die without becoming a ruler. Loi, silent and composed, walks away, daggers in hand. Quick, still astonished, declares the battle over. The cannon fodder has won. He wonders aloud what secrets Loi is hiding. Zhan Yue watches Loi and comments on how interesting he is, but Wu shrugs, saying Loi is just using his brain. It's nothing special. At least it wasn't boring. She adds, relieved Loi survived. Zhan Yue agrees but calls him low-level trash. Quick interrupts, announcing the next battle. Bloody Claw, from the Bloody Lion clan, against the zombie swordsman, Bai. The crowd buzzes with excitement. As the match begins, Bloody Claw smirks and taunts Bai, who responds humbly, saying he's not as good as Bloody Claw, but will fight on as long as he has his sword. Bai uses his water technique and rushes toward Bloody Claw, moving faster than expected. Quick is stunned by Bai's speed, thinking Bloody Claw might be in trouble. However, Bloody Claw calmly bites Bai's sword, stopping the attack. Quick can't believe it. Bloody Claw, gathering energy in his hands, unleashes his powerful claw attack, striking Bai with 2 simultaneous blows, defeating him instantly. Bloody Claw stands over Bai's fallen body, sighs and smiles, disappointed that Bai turned out to be weaker than expected. Quick, overjoyed, declares Bloody Claw the Fun Ion champion, as the crowd cheers for him. Zhan Yue praises Bloody Claw's strength and pure bloodline, but Waya mocks him for caring about such things. Luli, watching from the sidelines, is amazed by Bloody Claw's power. He crushed an individual weapon with his teeth, which is no small feat even though the level is reduced to 10. Bloody Claw's base power is clearly far beyond average. Blood Claw turns to Luli and taunts him, calling him a mistake of nature. He releases a powerful aura and challenges Luli, daring him to fight. With a wicked grin, he asks if Luli has the courage to face him. Luli assesses his opponent and realizes that if only he had analyzed things earlier, his chances of winning might have been higher. But there's still a way to victory. He just needs to win. Quick calls for the cannon fodder and acknowledges that second place is still a good result. Wyu, observing, thinks if Luli doesn't step up, it'll be a complete disappointment. Luli looks at his opponent with determination. How can he hope to find his brother if he gives up at the slightest difficulty? His brothers are more important to him than life itself. With renewed resolve, he steps into the arena as the final battle is announced. The lion and the bloody tiger versus the cannon fodder. The lion laughs, mocking Luli for choosing to fight a superior opponent. "I'll just think of you as dessert before my victory," he taunts. Luli, unfazed, asks, "Are you going to fight, or just talk?" He rushes toward his opponent. Bloody Claw calmly stands still, dismissing Luli's speed as too slow. He swings his paw, but Luli leaps over him, landing behind. Bloody Claw turns, narrowly dodging a dagger strike. Luli spins midair and lands on his feet. Bloody Claw realizes Luli's speed is better than he assumed. Perhaps he was underestimating his opponent, but still believes Luli is weak. In response, Bloody Claw releases a powerful energy stream, but Luli dodges, leaping back several meters. He knows his opponent is stronger and more skilled, but speed alone won't be enough for victory. Bloody Claw notices blood dripping from his face. Angered that he didn't notice being injured, especially in front of witnesses, he's humiliated. He vows to end Luli in the most ignominious way possible. The system notifies Bloody Claw that his passive energy, Bloody Battle, has activated, increasing his critical strike chance by 20% for 5 seconds. As Bloody Claw approaches, Quick, observing, is surprised that this cannon fodder can hold his own. Yue comments on the unexpected turn of events, considering Luli's lower rank. The further the battle progresses, the more interesting it becomes. Bloody Claw charges, mocking Luli's speed. Both fighters exchange rapid blows, and Bloody Claw swings his paw, but Luli blocks it with his daggers. The impact throws Luli back, sliding across the floor. Despite his effort, he loses his balance. Bloody Claw leaps toward him, charging energy into his claws, declaring that Luli won't dodge this time. Luli remains calm. He activates his backstab skill, teleporting behind Bloody Claw and preparing a strike. Releasing a red energy, he knows Bloody Claw won't turn around in time. Bloody Claw chuckles, acknowledging Luli's attempt but claiming it won't matter. The system announces Bloody Lion's Fury, and Bloody Claw releases a scream that paralyzes all enemies within a 5-meter radius for 1.5 seconds. Luli, frozen, realizes he can't move. Quick exclaims that the exclusive skill, Blood Fury, has finally been unleashed. Zhan Yue observes, praising Bloody Claw's remarkable skill for his age, but Yue warns that overconfidence could lead to his downfall. Bloody Claw strikes Luli with immense force, sending him flying back and severing his arm in the process. Luli, in pain, tries to stay on his feet, clutching his shoulder. As he struggles, his leg cracks under the pressure, causing him to fall. Quick feels sorry for Luli, commenting that with his arm and leg gone, the battle's outcome seems inevitable. Bloody Claw, laughing loudly, taunts Luli, saying that even if the competition ends, he won't let him go. He plans to continue playing with him until he dies, to entertain the crowd. "Maybe they'll remember you for 2 days, he sneers. Luli looks at him with a very serious expression, thinking how quickly things can change. The fish will soon swallow the bait. Bloody Claw slowly walks toward him, a wide smile on his face, and asks, "What would be better for them to play? Maybe break him one bone after another, although that's too banal. Rip his head off and kick it like a ball? Now that sounds more interesting. Of course it will hurt." Sitting on the floor, Luli calculates that he is only 3 steps away from Bloody Claw. Bloody Claw continues his slow advance, saying, "You shouldn't be silent. At least say a few words. It ruins my whole mood." He steps on a severed leg and mockingly asks Luli to forgive him for what he just did. A bright glow appears in Luli's eyes, and he knows the time is right. He suddenly stands and throws his dagger with force at his opponent. At the same time, his severed hand on the floor begins to move. While Luli leaps forward on one leg, his hand throws a dagger at Bloody Claw. With a slight motion, Bloody Claw deflects the front-flying dagger and grins. "This is what I need. Now I'm having fun. You're resisting." The line in front of Bloody Claw's face begins to fade as Luli activates his backstab skill. He grabs the dagger his hand had thrown and strikes unexpectedly, catching Bloody Claw by surprise. Luli delivers a powerful blow to the lion's back, and blood pours from the wound. Bloody Claw coughs up blood, confused by what just happened. The Bloody Claw collapses, bleeding profusely, as Luli stands behind him on one leg. Wu and Zhan Yue, shocked by the sudden turn of events, stand in stunned silence along with the rest of the arena. Quick, astonished, exclaims, "What was that?" At that moment, Quick's partner removes his glasses and loosens his tie, emitting a powerful aura. He shouts, "This is wonderful. It's been ages since I've seen such an amazing killing match." The angry turtle commentator begins analyzing the entire match. He recalls how Luli showcased his speed advantage from the start, provoking Bloody Claw in a losing balance, luring him into using his final trump card. The most shocking revelation is that Luli himself severed his arm and leg. In what appeared to be a hopeless situation, Luli exploited a unique trait of the skeleton's body. Severed bones remained connected to their owner's spirit for a brief time. Thus, what seemed like a desperate fight culminated in a masterful victory for Luli. The turtle commentator, pointing at Luli, asks, "Did I get everything right?" At the same moment, Luli prepares to deliver the final blow to the crawling, begging Bloody Claw, who pleads for his life, claiming he cannot die this way. Zhan Yue, watching intently, suddenly steps into the arena. With a strong surge of energy, he forcefully throws Luli away from the near-defeated Bloody Claw. Releasing immense energy from his hand, Zhan Yue glares at Luli, energy swirling fiercely around him. Powerful currents of air engulf Luli, tearing apart his body. As all that remains is Luli's skull, he wonders what went wrong, thinking he was so close to victory. Wu Yu suddenly appears in the arena, catching Luli's skull and dispelling Zhan Yue's energy. She focuses powerful energy on her fingertip, casting the Sky Barrier spell, and releases a black-red ball of immense destructive power, obliterating a section of the arena. Zhan Yue, slightly hurt by the spell, shouts, demanding to know if Wu Yu was trying to kill him. He senses that something deeper is happening. Calling her name again, he receives no response. Instead, Wu Yu heals Luli with her magic, his body beginning to regenerate. Touching his skull, she declares that Luli now belongs to her. She fully restores his body, sending a stream of energy through him, ensuring his complete recovery. Luli, watching all this unfold, stares at his hands in disbelief. His body sends a flow of energy into his body and says that this should help him recover. Luli looks at his hands and thinks that his bones have not only recovered, but are also stronger than they were before. Wu again concentrates the black-red energy on the tip of his finger and asks, "Where is this rabbit and turtle? If they don't announce the result, she will tear off all their limbs." The turtle crawled out of his shell and said loudly that they were here. Quick hides behind him and says that he must say this as quickly as possible. The turtle says that the persecuted hero dared to devour the sun. They were witnessing a new rising star. They congratulate the new champion of the Fungon competition. The system notifies that the reward for victory is being calculated. He receives 5,000 experience points and learns a new skill, Dark Step. Agility increased by 20%. L-Stats window says that he is level 15, Assassin class. Attributes: Strength 75 points, Intelligence 62 points, Agility 100 points, Endurance 37 points, Resistance 15 points, Charm 10 points. Achievements: Winner Fenin, Broken Skeleton Warrior. The system notifies that his reward is a dagger of the 15th level, a bleeding blade with spikes. Luli immediately received his 2 daggers and thinks that this is a good win. In the system window, it is written that his weapon is a bleeding blade with spikes, required to wear level 15, only for killers. Strength 100 points, attack 80 points, damage 20 points, attack speed 15 points. Feature: 10% of the damage dealt is converted into his own blood. The turtle looks at this and says that this attribute in itself is very good. Quick agrees with him and says that this is very suitable for battles of attrition. Combat endurance will be very useful in the next battles. Wu turns around and says that his injuries have been healed and his reward has been received. They should start Funin Ji quickly. Ellie looks at her and asks, "What is this?" Quick says that this is his first time taking part, so he may not know something. Funin is divided into 2 parts. The first is the battle in the ring. After this, the champion is allowed to participate in the second part, Fun Uni. In the window, the system says Fun Uni rules. The champion of the first stage will appear in the game world for a limited time. His task, in order to survive, is to hunt as many players as possible and kill them in order to gain his own experience and contribution points. Points can be used for mutual transactions to purchase skills and weapons, and this can also be used for movement. Zhan Yue loudly calls out to Wu and says that this is not the end. She openly attacked the Lord. Does she really want to declare war? She will sue her. She is wasting resources aimlessly. Her ambitions will destroy her. They want to get rid of him because he wants all the resources in his hands. She shouldn't ignore him. Wu is very angry about what he said and says that it is time for him to rest. Zhan Yue asks, "What did she just say?" She raises her voice and says, "He should stop being so shameless. He might be punished for interrupting Fungon. Does he want to save someone? He must have just noticed that guy from the Bloodline family a long time ago. He clings to every little thing and also dares to throw mud at her." Zhan Yue gets very angry and is about to say something, but Wu loudly asks, "What does he want to say about her?" If he wants, he can believe it or he may not believe it, but when he goes to fight, his salary and rations will be cut. They won't even give you weapons. Luli runs away from them and asks, "They won't start fighting, will they?" Quick, who is running next to him and his partner, says that if they have a fight, then half of the residents may suffer because of it. Li says they should get him out of here quickly. Wu looked at him very angrily and said that he should not disgrace her. He may not even think about returning unless he kills at least 1,000 people. Luli at this time runs into the portal that opened in this arena. The system notifies you that the Book of Random Achievements item has been activated. The Master's level was discovered to be above level 10. A random task is generated for it. The teleportation was successful. The countdown began. The code name of the operation was Bloody Traveler. Luli, who found himself in the forest after entering the portal, looks at the book and says that he had almost forgotten about it. The system notifies that a random task has been generated. He must complete the task of Wu, kill 1,000 players. Execution time within the framework of fine action. Please note if this battle ends without the quest being completed, the quest will be invalid forever. The system notifies that the game Bloody Traveler will begin very soon. All players must prepare for this. The inscription Bloody Traveler appeared above Luli's head, and above several guys in front of him. It was written that they were from a gang of bald men with knives. Aegon of the 13th level, AC of the 15th level, AF of the 17th level, a Cho of the 14th level. The system notifies that the Omniscient Bracelet has detected an increase in the character's level. Skills are improving. His characteristics, strength, intelligence, agility, endurance, resistance, and charm are increased by 5 points. The current quality of equipment is average. Every time a character increases its level by 10, the quality of attributes will improve. Equipment activation skills will be played out randomly each time equipment is upgraded. A new skill can be acquired. Random skills are distributed. One of the bald guys strikes quickly with his knife, but Luli easily dodges this attack. The system notifies that he has acquired the Enemy Hunter Blade skill. He has access to a very fast 4-hit attack. Physical damage is 110%, 120%, 130%, and 150%. It should continue to strike and will automatically be able to attack enemy targets within 10 passive skill. For each kill of an enemy, physical damage will increase by 150%. Louis defeats the 4 guys very quickly and thinks that the damage from his blow increases depending on the number of attacks. As long as he reduces the opponent's blood volume and then uses the trick again, he uses the Hunter Blade skill on enemies and does a lot of quick strikes on the bald guys. His combo is 16 hits. Luli releases a very strong energy and thinks that then everything will be much easier. He heard someone's voice asking where the boss is. His face immediately became very serious, and he looks at the people in front of him. Sometime later, Luli defeats a large group of monsters, and the system notifies that he has made 56 kills out of 1,000. After some time, he defeats another group of people, and the system notifies that he has made 156 kills out of 1,000. He continued to defeat large groups of enemies and achieved 314 kills. After that, El sat on a branch of a tall tree and thinks that he has dealt with almost everyone in this area. Players get in his way less and less often. It's time to go somewhere else. He is sorry because there is no way to pick up the weapon. It turns out that it is a waste. At the same moment, he notices Lu Ren, who saw a lot of weapons in the clearing, and with a joyful expression on his face says that he will get rich. It will all belong to him. He goes to this weapon and says that this is a script for a real protagonist. Luli stood on a branch and looks at Lu Ren, who is not paying attention to him. He very quickly ran next to him and defeated him with one blow of his dagger. El Ren was very embarrassed by what happened and asked, "What was that? Did they really defeat him? He is the strongest hero. There must be something wrong with the system. All his equipment and money will disappear." Luli silently walks away from him in the other direction and thinks that this guy talks too much. Sometime later, a large crowd runs towards him and loudly asks, "Where is the boss now? There are so many weapons here. He will be the one to defeat this boss. They will get rich." After this, Luli runs through the crowd of people with great speed and defeats them all with blows of his dagger. He puts his daggers behind his back and says that 444 kills is too few. However, this talkative guy reminded him of something. He presses the button that says Notebook. Luli wrote the coordinates of the Forest of Giants, that he should come here faster, or writes that he received it. Why shouldn't he become his kept woman? Is it his weapon or his clothes? Or did he prepare equipment for him? Sometime later, it comes to the right place that they wrote to him about and sees a huge amount of weapons sticking out of the ground. He was very confused by what he saw and said that it was amazing. After some time in the forest, where very strong energy emanates, which frightened the birds in a large radius, the girl defeated the huge monster. The system congratulates her on the fact that she successfully killed the 15th level monster, the giant warrior Kijang. In the system window, it says that this is Luna, level 18, swordsman class. Attributes: strength, intelligence, agility, endurance, resistance, and charm 60 points. Achievement: Shining Star. This title can be obtained by reaching the top 100 in the region in terms of combat power. In the system window, it is written that she received a Heart of Resistance. The level 15 is required to wear it. Universal for all classes. Strength is 100 points. All characteristics are increased by 10 points. Feature: when attacking, there is a 20% chance to increase resistance by 20 points. Luna walks slowly next to the man, who claims to be the leader of Jai Zhang's team. She doesn't answer him, and with a swift blow of her sword, cuts off his head. With a calm expression, she asks if he has seen enough. Luli immediately jumps off the tree branch and lands in front of her. Luna looks at him, wondering if he is the boss and if he wants to fight her. The gang will soon return to take revenge. This boss is very militant. Luli gazes at her seriously and wonders if she was able to detect him. The cost of killing her is too high. It's not worth it. They both realize they must start this battle and rush towards each other. However, before they can act, members of the Zhang gang arrive, shouting that this is the girl who killed their brother. Luna notices them and thinks they arrived quickly. Luli turns around and sees the boss's attack team approaching. The followers shout that the boss is here and must be captured soon. Luna and Luli quickly move away from the crowd and glance at each other. They run past each other swiftly, doing nothing as Luli leaps over the crowd of Jai Zhang members. The gang members question what flew past them and if it's the boss. They decide to leave him alone for now, as they are gathered to avenge their brother. Luna escapes through the boss's attack team, and as she passes, people comment that she's no slouch and has decided to team up with them. The group is surprised and outraged by the situation. One of the Jai Zhang members loudly declares they must not let the girl escape. A man from the boss's attack team shouts that the boss ran in a different direction and needs to be caught. Two groups of armed players charge at each other, shouting loudly. They collide, causing confusion. One of them remarks that they need to get out of the way and catch the girl. They mustn't obstruct the boss's path. Someone steps on another's foot, leading to a scuffle. A voice calls for respect, and urges them not to fight among themselves. Meanwhile, Luli and Luna race towards each other again, both swinging their weapons. As they prepare to strike, one of the men notices them and shouts loudly to alert the others. Luli rushes through the crowd, delivering quick strikes, while Luna unleashes her magic with equally devastating force. After the battle, Luna, who had logged out of the game, is seen sitting in a wheelchair next to an elderly woman, gazing out of the window. The old woman informs her that her master and his wife have invited her to dinner, but Luna, with a virtual reality helmet resting on her lap, says she is not hungry. She sits at a table with her cat, deep in thought, and writes in a notebook. The words she writes include references to family, Zoe, Ghost Moon strategy, and a bloody traveler. Back in the game, the system congratulates Luli for completing the task of killing 1,000 players and grants him a random reward, mythical earrings called divine earrings. These earrings give him the ability to change his appearance and provide passive talents like knowledge of other languages, enabling communication with various races such as humans, elves, and sirens. Luli contemplates the mythical equipment in his hand, recognizing its usefulness. The system further congratulates him on passing the finning competition and calculates his reward. He receives 1,000 points, levels up to 21, and learns a new skill called Sharp Blade, which enhances normal attacks by dealing 180% physical damage and ignoring 20% of the target's defense, with an added 20% chance to injure the target. As Luli steps through the portal and re-enters the arena, the crowd erupts in cheers. Quick loudly announces congratulations to Luli for completing the competition and achieving impressive results by defeating so many enemies. The turtle remarks that Luli is indeed worthy of the title Fungon Star. Spectators throw confetti and cheer with joy as the system notifies him that he has earned the Finnon Star achievement. Luli walks away from the scene, passing Wei Yu and Zhang Hui, who looks at him angrily. She comments with indifference that he has done well not to disgrace her, but Luli remains silent, standing motionless. The scene changes to Blood Moon City and the evolutionary blood pool, a place with fiery red waters and sharp rocks. Luli feels confused and wonders where they are, realizing this place wasn't part of the original game design. Wu Yue explains that the character Bloodclaw is still strong because of its powerful bloodline, even though its level has been adjusted. In front of the Blood Pool Secret Realm, Wu Yue explains that just like equipment can have different qualities, monsters can have different bloodlines that affect their power. Luli's bloodline is revealed to be the weakest. Luli starts to understand that this place is important for improving bloodline abilities, and Wu Yue confirms this idea. She tells Luli to jump into the blood pool, explaining that the skeleton's evolution depends on luck. Meanwhile, in another part of Blood Moon City, Zhuang Hai is upset because he lost a battle. He blames the Lion Clan for his failure and feels embarrassed. His advisor suggests that the situation might not be all bad, as the Lion Clan might respect Zhuang Hai more after seeing how hard he tried to defend them. Zhuang Hai stays angry and can't calm down. His advisor then offers a plan to regain their honor by indirectly provoking Wu Yue, since confronting her directly would be too difficult. Back at the blood pool, Wu Yue watches closely as Luli absorbs the power of the pool. Wu Yue sees potential in the skeleton's growth, but unknown to her, there are enemies plotting against her. Lady Wu Yu is approached by her soldiers, who bring a serious message. The city lord has sent a blood-red decree summoning her to the main city immediately. The decree is very important and demands quick action, with harsh consequences for anyone who disobeys. Even though the message is urgent, Lady Wu Yu stays calm. She hints that those who push her too far may face dangerous consequences, like falling rocks from the nearby mountains. The soldiers understand her power and plead for her cooperation. Despite the seriousness of the summons, Lady Wu Yu remains focused on her task. She keeps the soldiers waiting, leaving everyone uncertain about what will happen next. She looked towards the bloody lake where Lo Ai was now, waiting for something. She sat down on a stone, which greatly surprised the guards who were following her. The main man turned around and looked at her in disbelief. He called her name and asked what she was doing, but she ignored him, thinking that it was a beautiful sight from where she was. One of the men who had carried out the assassination attempt on Luli swung his weapon as he fell and said that he would do it himself. He delivered a strong blow with his weapon to the huge ball of energy that contained their target. The large ball of energy burst, and all the people standing next to it looked at it in shock. The ball of energy collapsed, and they saw Luli, who had been inside. One of the men with daggers looked at it and asked if they had succeeded or not. The man standing next to him doubted it and said it seemed so. Suddenly, someone shouted that they should stop talking and grab their weapons. They all immediately ran towards Luli, who had emerged from the ball of energy. He had taken on a human body, with a horn on his forehead, and looked at his hand as strong energy swirled around him. Two men, not far from him, were surprised by what they had just witnessed. One of them was about to warn the others to be careful, but before he could finish, Luli, moving incredibly fast, cut off both their heads. The leader of the gang was shocked by what he had seen and asked in disbelief how this was possible. He shouted loudly that the information they had was wrong, and that they must all attack together. On his orders, a crowd of people immediately ran towards Luli, ready to engage him. Luli stands still and calmly watches them as they simultaneously deliver their blows. He manages to jump back and dodge the attacks. Several of the attackers suddenly find themselves with holes in their bodies, shocked by the unexpected turn of events. Luli, with a firm grip, squeezes the hearts he just tore out with his bare hands. The head of the Shadow Squad, furious at what just transpired, charges towards him with a loud cry. He uses his Shadow Blade skill, launching a flurry of rapid strikes, but Luli dodges each one with ease. The leader, enraged, swings his weapon, now brimming with strong energy, vowing to kill him. Luli, with a calm expression, smiles slightly and chuckles. This unnerves the leader of the Shadow Squad, and as he approaches closer, he suddenly finds himself jumping back with his arm torn off. Gripping his remaining hand over the wound, blood pours out. Luli stands in the same place, holding the severed arm. The head of the Shadow Squad pauses, glaring at his opponent in disbelief. He thinks to himself that the information they had was incorrect. This man is far too strong. Despite the immense pain, he resolves to kill Luli at any cost. His mind flashes back to a moment in the past when someone told him and his squad that they were the pride of Master Zhan Yue and the Northern Moon Temple. Their mission was vital, and it was their duty to fulfill it as a representation of their master's will. The glory of the Blood Moon was with them. Determined, the leader screams in fury and uses a secret technique. He calls over the remaining members of the squad and urges his brothers to complete the task at any cost. They all use the blood sacrifice technique, impaling themselves with their own weapons while chanting that the glory of the Blood Moon is with them. Their energy surges and is redirected to their leader. He now walks slowly toward Luli, emanating this newfound power, declaring that Luli must die. Luli stands still, calmly observing. The leader, now powered by the sacrificial energy of his comrades, swings his weapon, charged with immense force, and prepares to strike a devastating blow. Luli, with lightning speed, rushes towards him. However, as he closes the distance, half of the leader's body begins to revert into a skeletal form. The head of the Shadow Squad smiles, looking at him and grinning. He strikes very hard with his sword, releasing his energy. Luli leans down and dodges the attack. Immediately after, he moves closer and deals a strong blow to the neck with his dagger, surprising his opponent. The severed head of the Shadow Squad leader flies away, and his energy dissipates. Luli wonders what just happened. At the same time, someone watches him from afar, observing how Luli defeated the leader of the Shadow Squad. Wu stands next to the observer, clapping at what she saw. "That wasn't bad," she says. "It seems the fun young competition has left its mark on you." Luli turns to her and asks, "Were these Zhan Yue's people?" Wu confirms that he understood correctly. Those who wanted to kill him and take her away were indeed Zhan Yue's men. Luli asks where they wanted to send her, but Wu, with a calm demeanor, replies that the consequences of their actions are visible not far from this place. "I've already sent them somewhere," she adds. Loi approaches her and asks, "Did you lure them out on purpose? Is this the second test for me?" Wu does not answer directly. Instead, she looks at him with a small smile, her gaze drifting to what's between his legs. Embarrassed, Loi quickly covers himself with his hands. Wu grows angry, asking why he's hiding. "Remove your hands," she orders. Smiling slyly, she tells him he can ask for whatever he wants and she will fulfill his every wish. Loi, still flustered, says that he wants to ask about someone. He looks at her seriously and utters the name, Han Yixiao. Wu closes her eyes and takes a deep breath. She seems prepared and says that he left a long time ago. Perhaps he has already died. They stand silently for a moment, the wind carrying a stream of dust between them. Loi asks again, his voice serious, "What happened to him?" Wu looks at him and responds, "That's your second question." She notices him clenching his fist in anger and feels pity for him. Gently, she tells him that she can reveal what happened, but he must answer her first. She recalls what transpired before, explaining how ever since Loi heard about Han Yixiao at the competition, he often glanced her way. She realized then that he was showing his best side, all in a bid to get close to her and learn more about her student. "It's for him, isn't it?" she asks. Loi confirms that Han Yixiao is his older brother. He is overcome by memories of his distant childhood in a social security institution. In his mind, he sees several boys laughing loudly. One of them holds a pink rabbit toy in his hand. The boy standing in the middle shows off the rabbit, laughing and urging them to keep playing. A younger boy trembles in fear, asking them to return the rabbit as it was a gift from his mother. Loi, already beaten and bruised, stands in front of the young boy to protect him. One of the boys mockingly repeats the younger boy's plea, while another throws a book Loi was holding aside and taunts, still pretending to be a hero. The boy in the middle continues to laugh, gripping the rabbit by its paws. He sneers at Loi and the others, saying, "This is an orphanage. My mother adopted all of you, but you're nothing more than trash." He rips the paws off the toy rabbit and declares, "Everything here belongs to me, and I can do whatever I want with it." The younger boy begins to cry, pleading for the toy. Suddenly, behind the backs of these three guys, someone jumps in their direction, swinging some kind of stick and screaming loudly to attract their attention. This guy takes a really hard swing at the head of the guy who tore the legs off a toy bunny with a broom. He throws hard punches at the three evil guys, and they can't do anything to stop him. The guy who broke the toy bunny admits he made a mistake and asks to be rescued. The guy with the broom lets them go, and after that, they run away, loudly calling for their mother. The guy with the broom picks up the pink bunny, turns around, and says everything is fine now. Looks at him with strong admiration and says he's cool. Luli looks at him in disbelief and asks who he is and why he helped them. He tells them if they ever have problems, they should just smile, and everything will go away. From now on, he will protect them, and no one will bully them again. Luli, in the present, says Han Yixiao is the closest person to him, like family. Wu Yu, deep in thought, remembers something from the past. She recalls Han Yixiao calling her master and smiling as he asked if she could give him an ordinary weapon. He also had two younger brothers, and as an older brother, he should give his best to them. Wu Yu, with a thoughtful expression, says the word purgatory. Wu said she had searched for him for a long time, but eventually discovered that the last place he was seen was in purgatory. Luli, knowing his location, tried to explain further, but was cut off as Wu Yu realized something important. Wu Yu insisted that she couldn't teleport to purgatory because that world was blocked by an unknown force. Luli pondered this, noting that if even she couldn't get there, it truly must be inaccessible. He called upon his elf assistant, who promptly appeared beside him. Luli asked her to check the information on purgatory, and the elf responded that she would investigate immediately. However, some interference prevented her from accessing the data, and the system alerted them of a rejection or an error. Perplexed, Luli inquired if there was a problem, and the elf informed him that his current access level didn't permit him to query the database. Luli then switched to manual input mode, confusing Wu Yu, who watched him converse with the system. Luli stared at the system window that had appeared in front of him and decided to focus. If purgatory was the last place his brother was seen, it was likely where he could uncover the truth. The system prompted Luli to enter a password. He keyed it in and clicked continue. Instantly, an endless stream of binary code surrounded him. The system notified him that he needed to retrieve the purgatory code, and Luli, startled, questioned what this code could be. Before he could process further, the system detected an illegal intrusion and activated the closure protocol. Luli ordered the system to open the original code, but the red warning windows persisted. As he questioned the possibility of the original code being rewritten, the system began forcibly expelling him. The system windows disappeared one by one, much to Luli's disbelief. Wu Yu, who stood next to him, explained that was all she knew. If he didn't believe her, he could investigate it on his own. Luli considered her words carefully, realizing that purgatory held the key. He approached her, asking how he could reach that world. The elf assistant, with a mischievous smile, told him that she knew how to return to the game world. A horned demon stands nearby as he asks the lady beside him how he can go to that realm. She replies that her knowledge is limited to the storm cloud tribulation and that there is a time restriction involved. She adds that he is too impatient. After all, Han Yixiao awakened twice in the evolution blood pool but still could not return, so he should not think he can do it given his current condition. Just then, CC approaches and informs him that she knows how to return to the player's world. He nods and tells the lady that he has another way to get to the player's world. She responds that she will be waiting for his good news. Meanwhile, Fei is busy dealing with the bug monsters around him, feeling impressed as he wonders if there are stronger monsters he can battle. The three female adventurers watch him in awe, praising his prowess, and he basks in their flattery, feeling quite pleased with himself. They tell him about some high-paying equipment nearby, and he decides to follow them, planning to buy some gear for the ladies. After walking for a while through the forest, he suddenly spots a group of adventurers. He quickly asks the ladies to get behind him as he prepares to unleash his fire attacks. However, he is caught off guard when the ladies sneak attack him, revealing that they are actually part of the group of adventurers known as the Northwall Guild. Fei realizes he has fallen into their trap. Two adventurers charge at him, but he retaliates with two powerful palm strikes. He unleashes flames at another adventurer approaching him, but the ladies attack him again, pushing him back. He realizes that he has used too many potions while leveling up earlier. As they all gang up on him, he feels a wave of disappointment wash over him, thinking about his second brother, Zhan Yue, and how he has let him down by being tricked so easily. Just as he considers giving up, believing he is about to be overwhelmed, someone suddenly appears. This new arrival launches an attack at those trying to harm Fei, declaring that none of them will be leaving the place. When Fei sees who has just saved him, he realizes it is his second brother, Zhan Yue. Zhan glares at him and asks how he managed to get into such a mess while he was away for just a short time. Fei immediately puts on a pitiful act, claiming he had been tricked and that they wanted to rob him. Meanwhile, the three ladies start to feel that Zhan Yue must be even richer than Fei, and they plan to attack him, excitement gleaming in their eyes. They call out to their partners, only to realize that they have already been defeated by Zhan Yue. Shocked, they wonder when he had even attacked. Suddenly, Fei appears behind the three ladies. They quickly act timidly, claiming they were just pulling a practical joke on him. However, he doesn't listen to their excuses and deals with them decisively. Later, Fei and Zhan Yue are seen together, and Fei asks Zhan Yue if he has made any progress regarding their big brother. Zhan Yue replies that the last place he heard their brother was seen is at the infernal purgatory. However, he notes that there is no such location in the game, so he can only speculate that it must be a high-level hidden dungeon. Given their current strength, it is simply beyond their reach. They decide to head to a nearby town, first to pawn off all the weapons and equipment they've gathered. In the southern suburbs of Nikindi Town, they go to a recycling equipment attendant who is surprised to see so many elite and premium items. After inspecting their gear, he informs them that the total recycling price is 95,000 gold coins. Zhan Yue, trying to charm the attendant, flatters him by commenting on his handsome haircut, even though he finds it a bit strange. The man, visibly excited by the compliment, adds a 10% increase to the price. Fei is surprised when Zhan Yue explains that this is one of the programmer's little hobbies when designing Easter eggs. Gratefully, he accepts the money from Zhan Yue. Curious, he asks if they are not selling the many pieces of equipment they still have. Zhan Yue assures him that they will sell it, but they haven't yet reached the right place. Soon, They arrive at the auction hall, where the entrance is guarded by two identical men. They refuse entry to a kid begging to be let in, stating he doesn't have enough for the admission fee. Others in line grow angry at the delay he causes. However, Zhan Yue and Fei decide to bring the kid with them. They show the guards that they have enough for the entry fee, and the guards immediately allow them entry into the auction hall. Fei feels a sense of satisfaction as they step inside, excited about the opportunities that await them. The kid is very grateful for their help and promises to repay them in the future as they part ways. A friendly girl named 8 of Hearts greets the group. She's their guide and gives them a special VIP gold card because they're super rich. The card lets them skip lines, pay less when selling things, and even get loans. One of the group, A, jokes about using the card to win 8 of Hearts. She's confused, so he asks if she believes in love at first sight. Luli, another member, doesn't say anything. Luna walks by without a word, but A recognizes her. 8 of Hearts leads them to a comfy room with tea. She explains their items will be auctioned first and should sell quickly. Ashi shows off their amazing sword, Stardust, and suggests they watch the auction for fun. A wants to join, but Luli interrupts, saying they just need a list of items to sell. 8 of Hearts agrees. Later at the auction, the host tells everyone to get settled. He explains the rules and wishes them luck. And the audience cheers in excitement for what's to come. A woman finally reveals an item called the Fiery Heart, a unique gemstone that can be attached to weapons for fire attacks. The gemstone glows brightly in her hands. A guy in animal skin offers 25,000 gold coins. A red-haired magician bids 28,000. The first guy smiles and raises it to 35,000. He thinks he's won because he only has that much left. The auctioneer announces that the Fiery Heart has been sold for 50,000 to guest number 9. He strikes the gavel on the table to finalize the sale and praises the winner. A girl sitting beside young Master Han thinks the price is high, but tells him it's worth it if she really wants it. She smiles happily. In the crowd, someone feels disappointed, having hope for the Fiery Heart. They ask about the winner, and someone explains that he is young Master Han, a wealthy and well-known figure. They reassure him that he might meet the Fiery Heart again someday. The auctioneer now presents the next item, a unique outfit called the Loving Maid. He wonders if anyone can resist the charm of a maid outfit. The bidding starts at 30,000. Bids quickly rise to 31,000, then 35,000, 40,000, 42,000, and finally 44,000 as people shout their offers. A man on stage, holding a gavel, prepares to begin the auction. He asks for the item to be brought to him. In the crowd, someone excitedly asks to try it on, surprising 3 others nearby. A person dressed in a maid outfit stands confidently, looking delighted with their new appearance. 2 people beside them seem shocked and take a step back. The auctioneer mentions that guest number 66 can make private adjustments. The person in the maid outfit expresses joy, feeling wonderful and relaxed, surrounded by hearts and flowers. The auctioneer coughs and calls out the 3rd item for bidding. Unique boots called the Epic Class Sprinting Wolf Battle Boots, which can switch to a faster mode. This item starts at 40,000. A young man with red hair raises his hand to bid 80,000, quickly doubling the starting price. The crowd gasps, curious about why someone would bid so high so fast. They realize they can't see the auctioneer now presents the final item for bidding. The Stardust Sword, the most valuable treasure of the day. The screen shows the sword's features and powers, stating it requires a level 20 swordsman to wield it, with a durability of 90 out of 100. It increases attack power by 260, adds 40 to critical hits, and speeds up attacks by 30. It has special skills like a light attack, which needs a level of 5, and a 2% chance to activate Stardust for extra magic damage. The auctioneer hands the Stardust Sword to a woman in formal attire. She holds it gently as a bright purple screen beside her displays the sword's impressive stats. The crowd watches, captivated by its special features. The auctioneer highlights the important ultra-rare light attack feature of the next item, stating it will be essential for upcoming missions. He announces a starting price of 200,000 gold coins. A guest raises the bid to 600,000. Another person tries to bid, but is held back by a friend. The auctioneer accepts the 600,000 bid. Luli stands on the edge of the cliff, feeling victorious. Just as the auctioneer is about to close the bidding, a new offer of 1 million comes in. The auctioned and the other person look stunned and amazed, their eyes wide with surprise. Luna sits peacefully in a row of chairs, wearing a badge on her chest. She appears calm as the auction continues, and the bid reaches 1 million, being announced for the 2nd time. Luli and his brother walk quietly, deep in thought, with shadows of others around them. He calculates that their total is now 1.52 million after spending 200,000. They have 1,320,000 left. The focus shifts to a VIP card showing the number 7450. His brother is surprised, asking if this means 7,450 people in the area are richer than they are, noting how many crypto millionaires there are. Luli dismisses this, saying it doesn't matter, and insists it's time to move on to their main story quests. His brother agrees. After a while, the two of them walk from the southern part of Nanking to the village of Bushcall. He asks his brother if they can go to a barbecue tonight, since it's been a while since they went out. Luli keeps walking and doesn't respond to him. He is still upset and tells his brother that he wants to talk. Why did he stop talking all of a sudden? Out of nowhere, Luli halted and remained motionless. He looks forward and says he knows she is behind them. She has to come out. He turns to Luna and says she is from the auction house. He pondered for a moment, took a fighting stance, and declared that he got it all. It's no surprise they are ready to spend so much money. Luna freaked out and said this isn't true at all. She doesn't want to hurt them. They sold a weapon at the auction that she had lost before. She thinks about Loi, who beat her while looking like a skeleton, and asks. She was curious about how they obtained this sword. He laughed and asked if she was curious about where they got her weapon. His brother received it after he took down the boss. Luna was shocked by what he said and started to think if he had killed the boss. She sprints towards them to take action. She stands in front of him and asks loudly if he can show her how to do it. I was really taken aback by the question and wanted to know what was going on. Luli looks away from her and says he is letting it go. He quietly tells his brother that this girl is intentionally trying to get closer to them. Luna sees them and believes that everything is just fine. They will surely battle in the future. After a while, as they got close to the village, they had to. He says he will get to the village soon. He needs to share everything with him. Lula agrees and mentions that since this is an early version, it should be easy. The main plot goes like this. A village named Bushcall is surrounded by monsters. You have to battle monsters. Once they arrive in the village, the locals will explain why they are under siege. In the village, there is a little girl who shines with a special light. She is the prize that the monsters desire. Their job was to take a young girl to the Temple of Divine Light. On their journey, they will encounter monsters. The goal is to safely take the little girl to her destination, the Temple of Divine Light. The mission will only be finished if this condition is met. They arrive in the village, and A says that with him, they can accomplish anything. Just so you know, this is the village. He strolls into the village with a grin and says he will move ahead and make the path clear. He can see how he interacts with everyone. In the village, a woman asks her sister if she heard those odd sounds. The other woman nods and says she believes she heard it too. A rushes towards them quickly, shouting loudly. He rushes forward with energy, running towards the women and warns them that they are monsters. They need to be careful. The women were scared of him and shouted for help. A halts and inquires about their identity. The women claim they live in this village. They ought to be wondering who he is. A feels ashamed and explains that there was a mix-up. He arrived with the goal of defeating monsters. The women were really shocked by this and asked if he mentioned a mission and monsters. Is this really a warrior leader? Is he that same famous warrior? Did they actually meet the famous warrior? The women stood beside him and asked the warrior if he wanted to go to their village. They will guide him on his path. One woman mentions that her sister is quite clever and she also wants to assist him. A agrees and mentions that everyone here is really welcoming. L trails behind him, sees him, and stares at him with a blank expression. The people of this village shout that a legendary warrior has arrived. Kids need to see this. It's about a great hero who fights bad guys and gets rid of evil. He wants to be exactly like him. The man gives out different things and expresses his thanks for his effort. He can visit to check out their special village products. A guy stands beside the girl, calls out to the famous warrior, and asks if he can get his autograph. The man bows and tells him they are welcoming a famous warrior. This village is about to get well known. The villagers were shocked and said that this was the leader of their village. The elder lifts his hands and shouts for everyone to welcome the new warriors with applause. He quietly tells his brother that this is not what he said before. Has the company changed this mission? Luli believes that while the story and how the people look might change, the main message should stay the same. The headman asks the villagers loudly about the biggest ceremony to welcome a warrior. All the residents were really happy about this, and they joyfully shouted that it was a banquet. The villagers came to the two brothers and told the famous warriors that they needed to follow them. A feast was coming up soon. Luli strolls alongside a group of villagers who are having a good time at the feast, and he watches them. He wants to know if he heard right that a lala is blooming here. Can he see it? The old man nods and says they should first take a break at the banquet. After that, they can enjoy the flowers for as long as they like. Luli feels a bit shy about this and glances at the villagers with doubt. After a while, a big group of villagers gathers around a table and enjoys a variety of dishes. A stands and tells his brother that there is plenty of food here. He heard that in the game, you can really taste the food. They have to give it a try. A villager approaches them, holding a plate full of eyes, and suggests they give it a try. Meat is really popular in their village. Then he eats one of those eyes with a sneaky grin. Luli holds him back and tells him not to eat it. They have to look for the girl. I felt embarrassed by this and agreed, saying that. Seeing them eat, it makes him feel nauseous. They stroll through a big tavern, and he mentions that there are a lot of people around. Perhaps they should ask them. Luli walks up to him and says there's no need for this. If he looks closely, he will easily find her. Right after this, they see a little girl sitting with the villagers, holding an apple in her hands. She holds the apple in her hands and just stares at it. Luli sneaks up behind her and places his hand on her shoulder, giving her a slight scare. He asks her if she wants to visit the Temple of Divine Light. The girl smiles brightly and looks at him, asking if he is a hero here to rescue her. The system alerts that he has successfully started the mission. Right after this, the moon turned red. The villagers stand up from their chairs. A sees something odd and tells his brother that things have shifted a bit. Everyone in the village stares at them, moves closer, and their eyes glow red. One of the villagers' eyes suddenly bulged out of their sockets from intense stress, and their entire body started to shake uncontrollably. The resident stands up, his body expands significantly, and he smashes the table with a strike of his hand. Right after that, he and the other villagers went after Luli and A, who were standing beside the girl. They both responded right away to the attack and moved fast. Luli calls forth his dagger and takes down the villager, who tried to attack with a single strike. A conjures a fireball with her magic and hurls it at a villager who is attacking them. The monsters they had just beaten collapse to the ground from their serious injuries, while the others pause nearby, staring in shock at the scene. After standing in front of them for a moment, a big group of villagers starts to run towards them, shouting loudly. Luli and A quickly gather their strength and get ready for this fight. They dash through the crowd of monsters, holding the girl tightly, while fending off the villagers who attack them out of nowhere. Their battle in the big building caused loud noises and bright lights to explode from it. After a little while, all the villagers were beaten and lay on the ground. A notices something odd going on in the building after they beat everyone. The monsters' bodies are packed with powerful energy, and the system alerts that a ban has been put in place. Then, all the villagers stand up, and a powerful energy comes from them. A gazes at the crowd of monsters and remarks that this is quite odd. They have all come back to life. He looks at his brother and asks what they should do. Luli believes that it doesn't make sense for the stubborn man to have that skill. He watches the villagers and realizes that everything going on here is very different from what was first intended. After he left Channing, something occurred. A starts to push back against the swarm of monsters and warns his brother that if he keeps this up, they will be devoured. Luli knows what they need to do and says seriously that they have to escape first. Then, they leap out of the window. He cradles the girl in his arms as the monsters stretch their hands through the window, trying to get to them. Right after that, they dash down a tight street, fleeing from the building they just got away from. They entered a house and shut the door behind them. The monsters didn't see this and kept walking down the street, searching for them. They keep standing at the door of the house and don't see a man with white hair walking on the second floor. A breathes out, feeling relieved, and is ready to talk about what's happening now. He stops mid-sentence when he sees someone coming towards him fast. Luna quickly walked over and put her hand over his mouth. Luli gazes at her with a peaceful look and says that it's her again. A, with a hand over his mouth, attempts to speak, but he can't. Luna gestures for them to be quieter and softly says that the monsters are nearby. She walked to the center of the room and said they could talk upstairs. They trailed behind her, and from the window of the room above, the red moon was visible. She sits on the floor like everyone else and wonders if she is here for a mission too. He felt like she was looking at them once more. Luna says she got there earlier than that. As she entered the village, she had a strong feeling that something was off. So, she decided to stay put until night came and check everything out thoroughly. But just as she was getting ready to go out at night, they suddenly came in. When she finished speaking, the room fell silent for a few seconds. Luli looks down with a serious face and says she is correct. This place has a lot of strange things. What's happening here anyway? She needs to share all the information she has about it. The girl they brought along felt shy when she heard this. She stares at the ground, looking worried, and stays quiet for a moment. Luna places her hand on her shoulder and gently reassures her not to worry. They arrived to keep her safe. She can share what she knows. She was really shocked by what just happened. The girl removed her pig mask and said that this is the main idea. I was really shocked by this and asked, was it a mask? The girl says her village is quiet and serene. Everyone there is really nice and welcoming. Outside the village, there are always creatures with pig heads and human bodies wandering about. But her uncle, who often went out, said that if you stay away from him, you'll be safe. Eventually, everyone saw that the monsters copied what they did every now and then. It seemed really funny, and the watchfulness against monsters slowly faded away. On that day, the Knights of the Holy Light arrived in their village. This time, Lord Greg was part of the tour. He is really tough yet kind. With him in charge, they did the holy prayer, but this time she prayed in a new way. She felt her body was on fire, like needles were poking her everywhere. She discovered it, wanted to learn the reason. Later, when he learned about it, he happily told her that she had awakened the holy light body and was now lucky. Also, she can join the society of the holy light and be a part of it. Her village would be safe, and she wouldn't have to fear monsters anymore. Just when they were filled with joy, monsters suddenly attacked them. They were harsh, fierce, and there were so many that it was impossible to defeat them. Greg fought hard against the monsters to keep his village safe, but he lost his life. She was so scared by what she saw that she didn't even think about calling for help or trying to escape. She felt empty inside and started to cry. She lost track of time while crying, and she cried so much that she couldn't cry anymore. Maybe the holy light was also giving her comfort and encouraging her to stay strong. If the light has picked her, she has to take responsibility. She wore a mask and acted like one of them, looking for a chance to get away. She shared what took place here. Since it was meant to be that they arrived, it shows the sacred light listened to her. Luna and Luli reflected on what they had just heard and considered it deeply. A smiles to encourage the girl and tells her that he and his brother will find a solution. She felt joyful about this and wanted to know if it was real. He says that it will definitely be their responsibility. The girl ignores the big eye watching them from the window and says she trusts them. Lula and Luna were shocked when they saw the giant monster through the window. Everyone quickly responded and jumped back when a section of the building collapsed. They look at it, and a shocked A asks, "What just happened?" A giant monster broke part of the building where they were hiding and grabbed the girl, saying he had caught her. This huge monster picks up this girl carefully and is about to eat her. A looks at it and says, "This monster is way too big." Luli says the task will be over when the girl dies. They all rush at the monster at the same time and use their strength to attack it before it even gets there. They both use skills and magic to hit each other at the same time, but the monster blocks these attacks with his hand. They are all thrown into the next building by the monster's very strong arm swing. The monster sees that his hand is hurt from stopping their blows and asks if there is really such a thing as a warrior lord's power in this world. A is on the roof and says, "This monster is so big. How did it get better so quickly?" Luna says it sounds like he has a weak spot. The monster hits them quickly with a very strong blow that destroys the building they were standing on. However, they are able to jump off and go in different directions. Luli tells him to cover the flying building block while she stands on it. The person next to him gives him a thumbs up and tells him he can trust him. He then jumps up and makes 2 magic rings behind him right away. He casts the fire meteor spell, and behind him a lot of small fireballs show up. He throws so many fireballs at once that the monster has to use his hand to block them. The huge monster is very mad at himself for what he did and lets out a heavy breath. When it tries to use magic, he blocks it from a distance with one hand and holds the girl in the other. He swings and is about to hit hard. Being hit by a very strong blow, Luli flies towards the monster's huge hand. He looks calm as he uses the backstab and powerful blade skills. He teleported and appeared above the monster's hand. He then used energy to strike it several times with a knife, dealing very heavy damage. He is standing on the monster's hand, which is where he hit it and caused very deep wounds. The big monster has a girl in his hand, and he sees her and reaches out to pull her away. Suddenly yells at his brother to be careful. Luli looks around and sees that the monster is healing its wounds with green energy. It also sees that monsters that have become human are coming out of its hand and are about to attack it. He quickly turns towards these few monsters, which was a surprise, but Luna quickly walked up to him and used her Starlight Break skill to beat them. She looks at him and tells him to hurry up and save the girl. Luli turns his head to look at her and agrees with her. All of a sudden, a big monster's hand does something strange that shocks both of them a lot. Its hand turned into a huge group of smaller monsters, and one of them grabbed the girl and ran off with her. Luli looks at this and asks, "What kind of a bunch of twits are they?" Luna asks him if he thinks it's too hard for that job. With all of their power, they both hit very hard, and she says it doesn't look like killing the boss is the main goal of the task. They both fly up to where A is standing on the roof, and Luna says that the most important thing is to keep the girl safe. Luli calls out A's name as they both run after the monster that took the girl. He doesn't move as they leave. Instead, he heals himself and tells him he can count on him. He uses the skill Double Fire Meteor to hit a lot of monsters flying at him at the same time. They both run across building tops at the same time to catch the monster as he runs off with the girl in his arms. When this monster sees them, he smiles in a sneaky way. All of a sudden, he walks into one of the buildings and breaks the door with his hand. Moon and Luli jump down to the door where the monster came in, and she tells him to stop. They both see the monster break down another door and run quickly through the empty room. Luli is focused on the monster when Luna sees something strange in the room. She tells Luli that they run very fast and know this area very well. He sees the same thing she does and just stares at it. A bunch of people are sitting in jail cells and making a lot of noise. These people looked upset, but they couldn't say anything. They were just making noises. For some reason, Luna looks at them thoughtfully and tells them to let them out. The grate is broken when Luli quickly strikes it with his knife. He gives these people a cool look and tells them they can leave. People who are upset start to slowly walk towards them. Moon says that Genesis, the first book of the Bible, is to blame after they left this house. For everything. Luli asked, what did she say? Because he didn't get what she meant. She is thinking about something in silence as her face has turned very serious. All of a sudden, they hear A's loud cry. He's calling his brother. He calls him by name because Luli knows his voice. He runs away from a big group of monsters that are after him and yells out loud that they need to save him because there are so many of them. He's lost the will to fight them. At the same time, the monster that grabbed the girl quickly jumps from roof to roof and moves in a certain direction. When the girl opens her eye, she knows this is it. She is going to be eaten. The monster then sat the girl against the wall on the platform of a tall building in the middle of the city and yelled that everyone was moving too slowly. With a small smile, he turns around and looks at the girl he took away. He walks up to her, sits down, and says, she smells really good. He blows out his big lips and says, I want to bite you, making her look angry. The girl raises her head and looks at the monster with a serious face. She then uses the Shang Wang blessing skill on the monster and pulls out a small knife that she had been hiding in her sleeve. She closed her eyes and hit the monster in the face with a knife in a way that no one saw coming. The cut she gave this monster makes his head light up, and he screams very loudly in pain. He puts out his hand to this girl, who is shaking with fear and holding a knife. She thinks she will be reunited with the gift. One person cuts off the monster's hand as he reaches for the girl, which comes as a surprise. The girl sees Luli, who hid her from the monster, and calls him Lord Warrior with joy. The monster was shocked when he showed up here and asked, how is this possible? Where did he come from? With his knife in his hand, Luli looks at this monster in silence. He can remember what happened in this city 15 minutes ago. There were loud sounds coming from monsters. Along with Luna and A, they run away from a big group of monsters. Behind them, a big cloud of dust forms. A big group of monsters is still running after them and stacking on top of each other as they try to catch up. Luli tells his friends to catch it by throwing them small blue pills. The next thing he does is swallow the same pill that he threw away. What happened next made the monsters confused and unsure of what was going on. They are hiding behind a wall because they can't be seen while the monsters try to find them and ask why they can't be seen. They have to go their separate ways to find them, but they can smell them, so they won't hide for long. The method lets them know that they've taken a stealth pill or potion. It only takes 5 seconds for the monster to lose its goal. This helps the players get away. To begin, the potion only works on people. It also doesn't help against monsters of a high level. All of them sat down near the wall they had hidden behind to rest. They asked his brother what they should do next. They are too strong for them, and the heroine has been taken. The main goal, according to Luli, is to find the girl. He keeps thinking that they now have 2 problems. One of them is a huge group of people that you can't handle. The second issue is that the girl was taken away. In order to do this unusual job, they will have to do it in an unusual way. He picks up the phone and asks her what her name is. Moon tells him her name, and Luli then says he has an idea but needs their help. After some time, monsters walk down the street and say that the smell is gone all of a sudden. They need to look some more. They need to look in every corner. Someone sneaks up behind one of the monsters as he stands against the wall and does something. Someone grabbed this monster by the arm while it was eating meat, which scared it a lot. With a worried look on his face, he hides the meat and says, I'm not playing around. He skipped breakfast. He was feeling dizzy because he was hungry. Elle tells him not to worry because he has changed into the same monster. He just ate too. They can take a break and talk. He is asked what he wants to talk about by the scared monster. Luli sat on the box next to him and told him that these 3 fighters looked very strong. Does he think they took the girl? He holds out a piece of meat to the monster and asks, does he mean snack? A calm face tells him that he doesn't need to worry about it. The youngest brother, La Wang, is the fastest. He knows each and every house in this village. They will quickly find them because they can smell them from far away. Luli smiles and says, that makes sense. They need to leave. They need to catch these 3 people quickly. The thing tells them to go to the tower. He turns away and thinks this brother is like a pig and a dog, but he doesn't know why. He forgets things all the time because he drank a lot. Luli says, all of a sudden, there is a very loud blast somewhere in the village. This caught the monster by surprise, and it asked, what just happened? Around the same time, A runs down the street with someone in his arms and tells the monsters that he is back and they should leave. There are a lot of monsters on this street, and they are all running quickly after him. At the moment, the monster on the tall tower looks at Luli, holds the wound on his face, and says, that's me. What the heck is going on here? Next to him, a girl is sitting against the wall. She looks at him and happily calls him Lord Warrior. When Luli swings his knife, a lot of powerful energy comes out. He quickly grabbed the girl and hit the monster hard with his knife. Monster that took her hostage. After that, he jumped to the street to help his friends who were running away from a bunch of monsters that were after them. I was glad to see him and says that this is really his brother. Running with the girl in his arms, Luli tells him not to rest. They need to get out of the town first. Big monsters chase them through the village while smaller monsters jump off and yell that they can't get away. When Luli and the others drink a boost liquid, it makes them 30% faster for 30 seconds. The huge monster hits them with a very strong hand blow, but they move faster, so the attack missed them. They keep running away from the town, which is lit up by the red moon. The light returned to normal after they left, though. It tells the system that they've left the village. It tells them they need to take a deep breath now that they are gone. As he runs, Louis says, "This is not true. They need to run even farther." They keep running quickly away from the town, but all of a sudden, a lot of shadows appear next to them. They all turn around and looked at something in surprise because this caught their eye. There is a loud scream from the big monster as he looks at them. This huge monster swung his arm very hard and threw a huge group of smaller monsters at them. They all stop moving and watch as the monsters they just threw come flying at them. Luli turns away from the town and tells them to keep running. A huge group of angry monsters lands next to them as they all start to run away. A large group of monsters is then running after them. As they move forward, a path of coins forms in front of them, just like in the games. This shows them the way. They chase each other. By jumping on the monster's head, Luna beats it. It runs on a big log and Luli and the girl pick up coins. They avoid the spiked barriers, but Luli chases after Luna, and he uses a tackle to slide under them. A red arrow points at a long-legged bird, which she jumps on. The others run after her, but are attacked by a group of monsters. A very scary and loud scream comes from one of these monsters. After hearing the monster's loud cry, the big bird gets lost and looks in different directions. When they all jumped on the bird, it took off very quickly, leaving the monsters that were after it far behind. After some time, they got off the bird in a safe place, and it took off running. The girl thanks this duck with a wave of her hand. I didn't understand what she meant, so I asked if she meant duck. They all walked together through the forest, which had mountains and big lakes nearby. That girl, with a happy look on her face, says that this place has a very pretty lake. Can she go check it out? He tells his brother that they can take a break and puts his arm on Luli's hand. He's very worn out. Moon says that this is what the main character wants. There may be new jobs. The monsters will catch up with them in about 30 minutes, according to the plan. Luli doesn't agree right away. She tells them they could take a 15-minute break and clean up. The girl and they were happy, and they thank their brother for making this happen. After a while, they laugh as they run around the lake after each other. Luna sits on the bank and checks the system window. A girl asks her why she doesn't go play with him too. She tells Luna she doesn't want to, so the two of them can play alone. The girl says she thinks her thoughts are mixed up. For her to be happy, she should let someone help her. She stretched out her hand, sent out energy, and read a spell. Light from God is always here. It shone yesterday and will shine today and tomorrow. Suddenly, a very bright glow shows up, which this girl made. Luna puts her hand over her face and hears someone call her Zo several times. She starts to remember things and sees her mother calling her. She smiles at Luna and tells her not to be still because her dad took them to her favorite amusement park today. She needs to get to them quickly. In the present, Luna started to cry and call out for her mother as light particles flew around her. This made the girl feel bad, so she asked her why she was crying. She prayed that she would remember good times. Since she isn't very careful, she must have done something wrong. This is what she begs her to forgive. He smiles at her and tells her she's thankful. I remember those good times. Is this true? The girl asks. She knew she was in trouble again. Luna gives her a pat on the head and tells her she's right. She's great. A walks up to them and asks, is it magic? He also wants to do it. He smiles, and the girl agrees. She then tells him to give her his hand. Divine light is always here. It shone yesterday, will shine today, and tomorrow. She read from a spell as she took his hand. He is thinking about the past and is a little surprised by this. The people sitting next to him, Hania and Luli, put different foods on his plate and told him to eat meat and veggies. They sit across from each other and eat what's on their plates. Then they both notice something. At the same time, they both looked at A, who was sitting next to them. He starts eating the food on his plate right away with chopsticks. Luli tells her that he has a job now and doesn't have to work as much on the side. Hanxia asks him if this makes him tired. Luli says they can be counted on now. Nothing can stop them. The more level he has, the more tired he gets, right? Asks Hanxiao. As for him continuing like this, Luli says it's only a matter of time before he passes out from tirade. Hanako suggests that they do arm wrestling. That way, he can tell if he is tired from working part-time. They keep talking to each other for a while longer. At the moment, A is crying very hard and holding a plate from his memory that he can't remember. He is asked how he is feeling by the girl. He runs to the lake, wipes his tears off his face, and says that everything is okay. He tells his brother in a loud voice that he's hungry. He then ran to the lake and dove right in. Luli hangs out in a tree and watches him work. What is she doing here? He asks someone he sees. The girl, who is afraid of heights, is shaking as she crawls along this branch. She tells him that he is so cool for not being afraid to sit at such a high level. At first glance, she smiles at him and asks if he's worried about anything. She thinks he is always sad. Luli gives her a cool look and tells her to come down because he doesn't need to remember anything. He was sitting next to a girl who asked him if he didn't want to think about the good times. Luli tells him that he will move more slowly if he looks back. That's well said, the girl says. These must be very deep and strong words. Maybe she doesn't understand them very well. She looks forward to it and tells him that being next to him makes her feel so at ease. They died when she was a child, so people in the village raised her. She respects when people are kind and help her. She puts her hands together in front of her and says she prays to the divine light 100 times every day for everyone who is good. She felt sad all of a sudden. She broke down in tears and asked why bad things keep happening to everyone. It's possible that the divine light didn't answer her because she wasn't doing her job right. Luli tells her she did a good job and pats her on the head to calm her down. He might not have been as brave as she is now if he had been her age. She wipes her tears away and asks, will she be able to be as brave as he is one day? Can she keep the person she wants safe? Luli thinks back to when Hanxia was a child, agrees, and tells her she will definitely do well. After that, they went down. He told them it was time to leave as they walked away. I put his arms straight up and said, the rest ended very quickly. One by one, they walked across the field next to the lake. The girl reaches out her hand, and the shame on her face makes it very red. Her soft grab on Luli's clothes made him look at her, which made her feel awful about what she did. The system sounds an alarm to let you know that the book of random achievements is about to start. A task was made at random. He needs to kill the king of pigs and get the girl to the Society of Divine Light safely. First, the mission will fail if the girl is caught on her way to the Society of Divine Light. Second, the mission will fail if the pig king is not killed. Sometime later, Luna takes out her sword, which emits a bright magical glow from its sheath. She turns around very sharply, releases strong energy, and hits the monsters that were chasing her. Turns back and says that more and more monsters are chasing them. The girl tells the Lord Warrior that he can put her down because she can run away on her own. Luna looks back and thinks that the speed of recovery and these pigmen are getting faster and faster. Attacking them will stop them, but not for long. They continue to run away from the monsters, and the system notifies that there are 50 kilometers left to the Holy Light Society. Slows down due to extreme fatigue and is about to drink some potion. He drinks this potion and is engulfed in a small glow of energy. One of the monsters accelerates very hard to catch up with him and runs after him, making loud footstep sounds. Turns around and notices the monster, which has already opened its mouth to bite him. Luli says loudly that he should duck down. He immediately does what he was told, and with a sharp blow of his dagger, hits this monster. The severed part of the monster falls. The severed part of this monster's head immediately returned to its place due to the strong energy, after which he immediately screamed loudly out of anger. The monster, who has just recovered, immediately strikes back at Luli, and the girl, who is worried about what is happening, loudly calls him Lord Warrior. Turns around and looks at the monsters with an evil expression on her face as she prepares to use her fire magic. It releases a very strong blast of fiery energy, and this knocks the monsters back. Luli says that they must run without stopping. The girl is worried about his wound, but he doesn't pay attention to it. Says to his brother that he would help him guard her while he could focus on recovery. Luli says that they do not have time to recover because as soon as they stop, they will immediately die. After some time, the system notifies that there are 20 kilometers left to the Society of Holy Light. They all stop before something and try to catch their breath after a very long journey. They see a narrow chasm in a huge mountain on their way. Looks at this chasm and says that this road gives him a strange feeling of claustrophobia. Luna stands next to him and says that, however, such terrain will create certain restrictions for the pigmen. Luli looks back and wonders, is this his imagination? He sees a small crowd of monsters chasing them and wonders if it's just his imagination or if their number has decreased. After a short rest, they immediately ran into the crevice while a large crowd of monsters ran after them. The system notifies that there are 15 kilometers left to the Society of Holy Light. Runs ahead and says that monsters will not be able to move freely on this road, so they won't have to worry much about it. Luna asks if their number has decreased, and Luli agrees and says that there are about 60% fewer of them. Maybe they're going to ambush them. The sun above them suddenly begins to become darker, and dark clouds appear in the sky. The system notifies that there are 6 kilometers left to the Society of Holy Light. They see a way out of the crevice and happily says that this is the way out. Suddenly, the light at the end of the crevice disappeared, and he asks, "What just happened?" They notice something strange that catches their attention, and he says that it would not be that. They see a huge monster who has blocked the light with his body, laughs loudly, and says that there is nothing wrong. She should go down and hide behind them. The girl does what he says, and the three of them stand up to protect her from large crowds of monsters coming towards them from both sides. These crowds of monsters run towards them very fast, screaming loudly. While they are about to attack, Luli and Luna fight against the monsters, each from their own side. They uses her magic to attack in two directions at once. The girl trembles in fear as she hears the sounds of their battle, thinking she should stop trembling and being afraid. She calms down, opens her eyes, and says, "This time, I will not be shy. The holy light will definitely protect me." At the same time, in the Temple of the Holy Light, the knight who stands in front of the other knights says that in recent years, the forces of darkness have become more and more powerful. Holy light dispelling darkness simultaneously consumes itself, so they urgently need to find his body. Light needs a lot of it. A knight approaches him, saying he is reporting to the commander-in-chief. A large number of crazy people gathered near the valley in the east. The commander-in-chief asks, "Did the pigmen dare to challenge the holy light?" He waves his hand and loudly says that the darkness will recede anyway. They must go into battle. After that, he goes down the stairs, and others from this temple follow him. A very tired girl is crawling up the steps to meet him. The commander-in-chief looks at her and says, "Falling into darkness is your first sin, and touching the temple of holy light is an even greater sin." He creates a ball of energy in his hand and tells her that she must receive the baptism of holy light. The girl takes off her pig mask and calls him leader. She goes to him, saying, "I ask you to help us quickly. I am the body of holy light from the village." She starts crying and explains that her village was attacked by pig people. The lives of the people in the village were in question. Thanks to 3 warriors, she was able to escape, but monsters are chasing her. All the warriors are locked in the valley. The leader must save them. The commander-in-chief looks at her in surprise, asking, "What did you just say? Are you the body of holy light?" He picks her up, which greatly embarrasses the girl, and joyfully says, "It's true. You are the body of holy light. This is great news. Did you face many difficulties along the way?" The girl responds, "The path to the holy light is always difficult, but at the end, the sweetest fruits and the most beautiful flowers await." The commander-in-chief says, "Well said. Are you ready to become part of the holy light and illuminate the dark side?" The girl, surprised, asks, "Can I become part of the holy light?" Meanwhile, Luli delivers many quick strikes to the crowd of monsters approaching him. These monsters recover from his attacks at great speed and continue moving toward them. He is surprised, noticing something strange. He looks around and asks, "Where did the girl go?" Others are surprised as well, and Luna turns to the monsters, wondering if she was captured. Luli says it doesn't look like that, but he calls out loudly, asking, "Where are you? You must make at least some sound so we can come to save you." Luna looks and wonders if the girl might have taken advantage of the situation to get to the holy light alone. The monsters run toward the temple of holy light, ignoring the people next to them, shouting, "Desert." A is surprised and asks, "What is going on? Why don't they attack us?" Luna says their target is only the girl. The huge monster also runs toward the temple, shouting, "Desert." Luli runs out of the crevice and says, "We need to get ahead of them." Luna stands beside him, saying, "We are very close. We need to go to the holy light. I hope she is safe." They immediately begin running after the huge monster, heading towards the temple. After some time, the system notifies them that they have reached the goal of the holy light. They stand next to a huge monster that has stopped at the temple entrance. The monster is very angry, screaming loudly at something it just saw. Luli and the others are shocked by what they see in front of them. They look at the commander-in-chief, who is holding the body of a headless girl in his hands, his face stained with her blood. He says she should be proud. She has become one with the holy light, which is now even more dazzling after her arrival. The girl asks earlier if she can join the holy light, and the commander-in-chief says she can because the group needs her to shine a light on even more dark places. The girl is thrilled and says she will protect her town and as many people as she can. She feels embarrassed when she thinks of Luli, but she stops when the commander-in-chief's head stretches in a weird way. He bites her on the head and tells her she has to become the holy light. The head of the army throws the girl's body to the ground. He marvels. Every ray of light is raised, giving off a bright energy. The huge monster lets out a loud scream, raises its hand high, and hits the ground hard, causing significant damage. A lot of people from the Temple of the Holy Light are being pushed away by the storm. The monster screams in anger as it raises both hands and prepares to strike again with force. Out of the blue, The commander-in-chief creates a strong magic circle and shoots a powerful beam of light that pierces through the monster. He does nothing as a bright light shines from him and says, "He has fallen into darkness and is trying to destroy the building. He will put him to death with the power of holy light." He sends out several beams of light that hurt the monster's body. The huge monster gets hurt and falls to the ground, screaming in pain. The commander-in-chief says from above, "I will keep burning your dirty body." When it comes to him, their healing tricks are like a drop in the ocean. He holds out a sword of light and declares, "Let the holy light drive out the darkness." He is taken aback when he suddenly feels Luli attack. Luli blocks the attack with his light sword and quickly teleports to deliver a backstab with his dagger. The top executive is thrown away, but remains in place. He sees that Luli is very angry and giving off strong dark energy, so he tries to talk to him. Wait! They are working together to fight the pig-headed monster, which is their shared enemy. They need to kill him together. "I can give you a big prize," he says, but Luli doesn't pay attention. Luli, filled with anger, tells him that he won't listen and will kill him instead. He sees a red system window indicating that killing the leader of the Holy Light Society will make it impossible to defeat the Pig King, resulting in a failed task. This does not deter Luli, who attacks with immense strength. The leader of the country crashes into the wall, but survives. He is furious with Luli and exclaims, "How dare you do this to me?" The fight goes on, and Luna and A join Luli to use all of their combined strength. When they hit the commander-in-chief, he falls and bleeds a lot. A states, "Killing this freak 100 times wouldn't be enough," and Luna looks at Luli, who stands over a monster that is badly hurt and crying. The monster says desert, which makes Luli think of old times. He remembers how the girl Dim Sum had once looked out for this monster and been nice to it. She is remembered by the monster as Desert, a strong memory. Only to protect her did he attack the village. The knights had wanted to eat Holy Light's body, which he now knows as Dim Sum. When Luli learns that the monster has a sad link to Dim Sum, she gets even more angry and confronts the commander-in-chief, who has risen from the dead. The commander-in-chief makes the Holy Light world, a magical barrier that sends Luli to a different world where they fight. Luli and the commander-in-chief fight on a platform that floats in the sky full of stars. The commander talks about how hard it is for him to get better and how he learns that only the most devoted people can become the body of Holy Light. Luli feels anger and sadness when she realizes that Dim Sum was killed for this reason. The intense fight continues as Luli attacks to seek revenge for her death. She is filled with dark red energy. The head of state smiles and tells him to say what he wants. He saves many people from monsters, more than those who give their lives for him. His smile fades all of a sudden, and he clenches his fist and says, "Enough already." He has to die immediately. Luli stands below, and all the stars shine down on him and light him up. With a sharp wave of his hand, he sends streams of energy up. His power reaches the sky and touches the stars, setting off an explosion that spreads to other stars nearby. Luli is a little shocked and asks, "Is this possible to destroy?" The commander-in-chief licks his lips and asks, "Isn't it better to die obeying than to be in pain?" He raises one eye, and a spear of holy light appears in his palm. He throws it at Luli right away. Luli quickly waves his hand away, so he doesn't have time to respond. His face turns red with fear, and then it changes shape in pain as the spear goes through his stomach. He still doesn't have time to respond when 3 more spears fly at him. All of them go through him and lodge inside him. Luli is hit so hard that he falls to his knees. The leader of the army gets off his chair and declares that he is a messenger of the Holy Light and that he will achieve true freedom. The little kid who gets in his way will never understand how great he is. With all his might, Luli clears his throat and says that the leader is just a crazy pig trying to get out of the pen. The leader of the country is very angry about these words. He runs towards Luli and opens his mouth wide as if to eat him. But all of a sudden, Luli smiles. There is a system warning that says a mistake has happened. When Zhan Yue shows up, all of his skin is quickly burned, and the commander-in-chief is shocked to see only a skeleton. "Boss?" he asks. At that time, Luli grabs the commander-in-chief's shiny hand and says, "This hand must be how he controls the light balls." Luli then pulls the commander-in-chief's hand sharply towards himself, cutting off a limb. A message on the system says, "Mission mistake," which makes the commander's face twist in pain. The task of killing the boss of the Holy Light Society is now set up. The person will die if the task fails. The commander-in-chief's other hand holds a stick, which he swings hard. But Luli is able to go back in time. He gets away and then jumps very high into the air. The leader of the army raises his voice and yells, "He is a real child of darkness, a disgusting monster. He can crush him even without a field in one hand." At this point, streams of energy come from Luli into the air. As he hits his enemies with the hunter's blade, his red eyes grow even brighter. Suddenly, the blade strikes the sky hard, touching the stars and setting them off. After 137 double hits, 456 explosions can be heard. As the sky starts to glow and stars begin to explode like fireworks, there are already 728 double hits. Lui's dark red energy rushes from side to side, making the glow less bright. The chief of staff is shocked and asks, "How is this possible?" Suddenly, Lui's blades that have been raining from the sky fall to the ground. The chief of staff's face is cut by several sharp blades at the same time, letting out a spray of blood. He cannot do anything as his body disappears and the sky's biggest star blows up, ending his life. Luna and a wait outside at the same time. It kicks the wall, but it starts to fall apart from the inside and finally breaks into several pieces. Luna puts her hand on the handle of her sword right away, thinking the worst will happen. A feels very happy when he sees Luli. From the bright flashes that the barrier makes, Luli comes out with one hand on a blade. He puts his hand on Lui's shoulder and tells him, "I knew you'd be cool." They all go somewhere together. Is he the only one who kills the boss? How does he do it? Luna asks herself as she walks to the side. Luli tells his brother that he has brought some toys and props and will show them to him later. Then they talk about what happened to the king of pigs. The person in front of them points forward and says that before he showed up, he vanished, but not before crying over Dim Sum's headless body and holding her. He then gets up and tells her he will take her home. When Luli hears what happens to the king of pigs, he asks if the job is done. He intends to answer, but the machine speaks before him. It says, the job has failed. The system gives a random job. Updates are being made to tasks, and a reboot begins. Time goes by. Everyone knows it is a new day when a rooster crows. Dim Sum opens her eyes right away and looks around confused. She then folds her hands in prayer. When she thinks about the holy light, she feels like everything is real again. With more confidence, she packs a bag and leaves the house for the mountains with medicine for a pig's wound. Dim Sum meets Grandpa Nu, Uncle Wong, and Little Otto on the main street. They all say hello back and warn her to be careful in the mountains because there are cannibal monsters there. She runs into a man as she walks, hitting her on the head and falling to the ground. The village chief smiles and tells her to look ahead. She says sorry and stands up. The leader of the village pats her on the head and says that she is very religious and that one day she might become a body of holy light. Dim Sum feels scared and runs away, yelling that she doesn't want that to happen. She is upset that she has been so rude to a visitor from the temple of holy light. Tears come to her eyes. As she runs, she prays and stops when she sees a guy go by. The real holy light is inside you, he says with a smile. While Greg and the village chief stand nearby, they talk about her strong faith and say they think she will become a perfect body of holy light. The village chief agrees with their plan to make her fat so that they can enjoy her taste someday. As Luli walks by, Greg grabs his neck and blood starts to pour out. People in the village run for help as Luli quietly walks away. In the bush, a pig wonders if she will come back for him. When Dim Sum shows up, the pig is very happy to see her. Luli, and Luna watch from a nearby rock as they get back together. It says something about the failed mission, and they talk about what to do next. Eventually, they move on to their next task. Luna states her name is Luna, and Luli shakes her hand, telling her his name is Zhan Yue. All players received a notice that the online game Phantom Moon would be undergoing server maintenance. The game would shut down at midnight and remain unavailable until 8 a.m. the next morning. The notice apologized for any inconvenience caused by this temporary shutdown. Meanwhile, Lady Bai was logging out of the game when Butler Lu suddenly burst into her room. He informed her that the old master wanted to see her immediately. Lady Bai reminded him that she had repeatedly asked him to knock before entering her room. However, Butler Lu showed no remorse, calmly stating that the old master dislikes being kept waiting. Butler Lu then escorted Lady Bai to the entrance of the meeting room. He told her that he would not accompany her inside, meaning she would have to face the old master on her own. Lady Bai knocked on the door before entering. The old master asked Lady Bai if it was true that she had passed the preliminary examination, to which she confirmed. He then informed her that the next exam would take place in a month and emphasized that since she was participating, she had to ensure she made it to the finals. He sternly warned her not to embarrass him. Lady Bai acknowledged his words and left the room. Meanwhile, in the office, a large shark in a small aquarium was seen devouring a smaller fish. In another scene, two brothers were at a restaurant enjoying hot pot, a winter tradition for them. As they were eating, they overheard two men at a nearby table discussing how absurd the Phantom Moon game was. One man complained that their guild of over 40 players had all tried the same mission, yet none of their tasks were identical. He explained that even though the mission was rated as level 18, the difficulty of the tasks varied drastically. The easiest task was to defeat a level 5 rabbit, while the hardest was to solo defeat a level 35 epic boss. The second man was shocked, wondering how the game could be playable with such inconsistency. The brother in spectacles silently listened to the conversation about Phantom Moon and began reflecting on his own strange mission within the game. His assigned task was to deliver a little girl NPC to the Temple of Holy Light. With the temple's assistance, he was supposed to defeat the Pig King. However, if he failed to complete these tasks, the mission would be considered a failure. But something had gone wrong. His character's mission had deviated from the usual path of the game. Instead of receiving help from the temple, he had ended up having to kill the president of the Temple of Holy Light. And if he failed this altered mission, his in-game character would die. He couldn't stop thinking about how his quest had shifted so drastically from the original goal, leaving him puzzled. Why did his storyline take such a dark and unexpected turn? He recalled something Luna, a fellow player, had told him. She had mentioned that many NPCs and monsters in the game were no longer following their preset roles, and the missions had become non-linear, branching off in unexpected directions. She believed all of these strange occurrences were somehow connected to Genesis, a mysterious force or event that seemed to be reshaping the game's entire world. The brother in spectacles thought he had been prepared for the challenges in Phantom Moon, but the unexpected twists in his mission left him uncertain. He found himself questioning whether he was getting closer to his big brother or drifting further away. Just then, the restaurant served them 5 bowls of egg-fried rice, and they continued with their meal. As he ate, his mind drifted back to their childhood in the orphanage. Life had been difficult back then, as they were often bullied by the other kids. The youngest of the 3 brothers would cry frequently, and it was the oldest brother who reassured them. He always told them to focus on what they could do the next day, offering hope in the midst of their struggles. They often joked about eating egg-fried rice, with the youngest brother confidently claiming he would eat 3 bowls by himself, while the older brothers could each have 1. Now, as the second brother looked at his younger sibling happily eating 3 bowls of egg-fried rice, he couldn't help but smile. The scene before him mirrored their childhood dreams, and he felt a bittersweet sense of nostalgia. Despite the challenges they had faced, they had come a long way, and in this small moment, a piece of that shared memory had come true. After some time, a notification from the Phantom Moon game system announced that the Kingdom of Tepanai, located 15 kilometers to the east, was hosting a large-scale limited event. This event promised participants a chance to earn massive amounts of experience points, gold, rare equipment, and precious treasures. The event was drawing in adventurers from all over, eager to participate. However, with only a minute left for registration, a crowd of adventurers rushed to try and enter the event. Amid the chaos, a massive knight appeared, announcing that the registration quota had already been filled. He firmly asked the disappointed adventurers to leave, stating that no more participants could join the mission. Despite the knight's warning, the 2 brothers and Luna were seen calmly walking past the crowd after paying 500 gold. They bypassed the restriction with ease, much to the outrage of the other adventurers. Cries of protest filled the air, with many complaining that it was unfair for the brothers and Luna to gain entry while the rest were denied access. After the registration period ended, the Kingdom of Tepanai was suddenly surrounded by a massive steel barrier, which took everyone by surprise, including the 2 brothers and Luna. The sky above them flickered, and a distorted holographic image appeared. Gradually, the image cleared, revealing a man who introduced himself as Huada, the Minister of Foreign Affairs for the Kingdom of Tepanai, and the host responsible for the event. Huada explained why the adventurers had been summoned. He shared a tale from 18 years ago when on a beautiful spring day, the wise and benevolent king of Tepanai, along with his queen, had celebrated the birth of a princess. However, tragedy struck when the princess was kidnapped by an evil dragon. The kingdom had been seeking the strongest warriors to rescue her ever since. Huada continued, stating that the king was fully aware of the dragon's immense power. Therefore, this event, the selection competition, was organized to find the mightiest heroes capable of facing such a formidable enemy. He announced that 10,000 adventurers would be participating in the competition, and each one would be granted a warrior certificate. This certificate would serve as proof of their participation in the royal mission. Huada explained that the competition would last 7 days, and by the end of it, only the top 100 warriors would be able to advance to the next stage. This meant that for every 100 participants, only 1 would pass, making the trials extremely competitive. To collect the crucial warrior certificates, there were 3 main ways. Warriors could find certificates that had been scattered throughout the kingdom, hunt the monsters that roamed within the kingdom's boundaries, or, the most direct and dangerous method, plunder certificates from other adventurers. The number of certificates each warrior possessed would be publicly displayed, meaning the more certificates someone held, the more they would become a target for others. With these rules, it was clear that the competition would be brutal, and survival would require not just skill in battle, but also strategy and a keen sense of caution. As time quickly passed, Huada wasted no time in commencing the trial, telling the adventurers to stay tuned for the next announcement. Immediately, the trio, comprising the two brothers and Luna, moved swiftly to put some distance between themselves and the other participants so they could discuss their strategy in private. Before they could fully dive into their plan, another party approached them with an offer. They were assembling a group of 100 adventurers, aiming to progress faster through strength in numbers. The offer seemed tempting, but the second brother quickly declined. When the youngest brother asked why they wouldn't join, the second brother explained that increasing their numbers wasn't necessarily an advantage. He believed that forming large groups could lead to internal conflicts and betrayals, especially in a competition where everyone was vying for the top spots. Without further hesitation, the trio set off to hunt monsters within the kingdom. They worked efficiently, battling their way through the various creatures and steadily collecting a decent number of warrior certificates. As the trio ventured further, they encountered a formidable monster. The youngest brother, noticing that he had the fewest warrior certificates, confidently stepped forward, insisting that he would take it on. Just as he was about to strike, another adventurer suddenly intervened, swiftly stealing part of his gains after he had defeated the monster. Furious, the youngest brother retaliated, clashing with the adventurer. The adventurer, a skilled and fierce female fighter, proved to be more powerful than he had anticipated. As the battle intensified and he began to struggle, he called out to his second brother for help. Without hesitation, the second brother intervened and managed to outmaneuver the girl, taking her hostage. She was enraged, realizing she had been outplayed, and her frustration was evident. However, just as they thought they had gained the upper hand, the female adventurer's partner appeared out of nowhere. In a quick and calculated move, she captured both the youngest brother and Luna, turning the tables on them. The situation grew tense as the two sides held each other's members hostage. To everyone's shock, it was revealed that the female adventurer held a staggering 50 warrior certificates, a clear indicator of her strength and experience in the competition.